All right, good afternoon, everyone. I call our assembly to order, and I recognize Councilor Kennedy for our prayer and pledge today.
I just ask that we all take a moment of silence, thinking of all the victims of the war crimes being committed in the Ukraine, especially the children. Pledge allegiance
to the flag,
United States
of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, I recognize Councilor Devaney for a motion to record advice and consent for the financial warrant.
The governor.
Okay, there's a motion and there's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I recognize Councilor Jubinville for a motion to record advice and consent for the pending list of notaries public and justices of the peace.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. I also recognize Councilor Jubinville for a motion to record advice and consent for the appointment of Andrew M. Deangelo to the position of Associate Justice of the Appeals Court.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Yes, Councilor Devaney.
Lieutenant Governor, I am documenting my remarks, which will be placed in the Governor's Council records on this position. First of all, I want to say Judge Deangelo's hearing was not seen by the public. His hearing and two others that day were held during the time the councils had shut down public access through YouTube, so no one saw it. At Judge Andrew Deangelo's hearing, there were no people in this chamber. All empty chairs, not allowed, per instructions to the nominee, Judge Deangelo, from the presiding governor's counselor at the hearing. Judge Deangelo was instructed to come by himself, alone. He was not allowed to bring his wife, his 6 children, and his mother who lives with them, or anyone else. He was allowed 2 witnesses to talk in support. There was no one at the hearing who spoke in opposition. The council received no letters in opposition as well. To repeat, at Judge Deangelo's hearing, there was an empty chamber with empty seats. No one was allowed. In contrast, the same day at Attorney Pappas' hearing, great nominee, with the same council presiding, there were over 20 people in this chamber, standing room only. In fact, there were 2 people sharing 1 seat. Attorney Pappas was allowed to have 3 witnesses to speak in support, in contrast to Judge Deangelo, allowed 2 witnesses. I am personally publicly apologizing to Judge Deangelo and his family for the egregious and prejudicial manner he was treated. To start, the judge's hearing had been canceled 3 times without giving a reason. So many judges were planning to attend this hearing, and I heard from them, to support Judge Deangelo. Justice Green, Chief Justice of the Appeals Court, he told me a week before he was coming in support. He was going to be sitting there and pleased. Judge Deangelo would be joining the appeals court. Many first of all, there would have been filled with judges here. In my 22 years, I have never witnessed such an attack. Organized attack on a nominee with clear disrespect. And this is a 16-year judge who is so well respected. At this hearing, there was not one question to Judge Deangelo from counselors. It was only about and all about an incident years back when the judge called an attorney in contempt of court regarding a case that had been going on and on for years before him. The attorney had argued against Judge Deangelo's ruling to go to trial that he was requested of. The attacks continued at Judge Deangelo's hearing, even to the other witness, Assistant Chief Magistrate, drilling her only, no questions, about the contempt incident, not a question about her knowledge or his experience with Judge Deangelo. This was not a hearing, it was an inquisition. It was heart-wrenching to sit through. The whole egregious treatment of Judge Deangelo, from canceling his hearing 3 times, instructing him to bring nobody, no family, no friends, no judges, no one allowed in the chamber at the hearing, it was cruel. The judge tried to talk on the subject of the contempt, but to no avail. The counsel's attack caused Judge Deangelo to cry. Tears came to my eyes, Lieutenant Governor. The attorney in question regarding the contempt became friends over the years with Judge Deangelo. He expressed support for the judge's appeal court position. Counselors poo-pooed that by saying, who would oppose a judge? Many have in my tenure. For example, District Councilor Judge Sikora, appointed to appeals court. 5 people spoke in compelling opposition to his appointment to the appeals court. He is the judge in judicial history that you know, Lieutenant Governor. There was a scheduled trial on Halloween, and he instructed the jurors to wear Halloween costumes, and they all did, passed out Halloween candy, and had a party. Unfortunately, my 1 vote in opposition did not count. He went to the appeals court. I am so pleased to vote for Judge Deangelo. He has 16 years of experience as a judge to bring to the appeals court. Chief Justice Dawley, one of the 2 witnesses, talked about his judicial excellence, how he spends so much time away from the bench on programs that benefit the judiciary, even mentoring lawyers who come before him, and so much more that I won't get into. We expect judges to give equal respect and the same fairness to everyone appearing before them. So it should be with all nominees before this Governor's Council. Everyone should be treated with the same respect and given the same public access in this council chamber for all, family, friends, and supporters. Sadly, Judge Deangelo, it appears, was singled out with prejudice. Again, this is a public hearing. Lieutenant Governor, I established a public council website years ago, and it welcomes people to attend our hearings. This is the People's State House. Again, I will be proudly voting for Judge Deangelo. He will be a great appeals judge. He will make us all proud, and I respectfully submit this document now to you to be in.
If I may.
Yes. Councilor Paulo, and then Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you. I just want to say that in my first term on the council, I've come to be so proud of the administration and the diligence that you put in to choosing the nominees you put before us, and the diligence that this council puts in to every single nominee. And most of our work goes on outside of assembly and hearings when we're talking with folks in the legal community, talking with the nominees themselves. Judge Deangelo had a tough hearing, as he should, because we're going to vote whether to put him on the appeals court, second highest court in our state, a court that has incredible consequences for the Commonwealth. So I just wanted to say that I'm proud of how this council handles its work, and I'm proud that we put extra emphasis on the higher courts. So thank you, Lieutenant Governor.
Councilor Kennedy.
First of all, I want to congratulate Councilor Juneville on the way he ran the hearing. Everybody knew going in that it was going to be a very, very difficult hearing for Judge Deangelo. And I don't think Councilor Juneville barred anybody from coming into this chamber. It's a public chamber. He made a recommendation to Judge Deangelo, knowing that he would be asked some very, very difficult questions. And Judge Deangelo followed that recommendation, which was wise of him. He was vetted he had a very tough hearing, and deservedly so, very frankly. The fact that you lock a lawyer up, which he admits he should not have done, that he was dead wrong doing it, is something that we should be bringing up and something that we should be asking him about and expect to get answers with respect to that. It is a big deal that he did that. I don't think it should preclude him from going to the appeals court, and I intend to vote for him. But he was treated very, very fairly by the members of this council. I agree with what Councilor DiPaolo said. A lot of what we do is outside this chamber in terms of vetting people. I personally talked to Judge Deangelo no less than 6 or 8 times before he appeared here to ask him questions. And and even given that, I was surprised by some of his answers, which prompted some of the questions I asked him, because they weren't exactly in sync with the conversations we had had previously. But I think he was treated very fairly by this council. I think he was asked some tough questions. We have a job to do, which is to vet nominees. That's what we were doing with him. And I think Councilor Jubenville ran a very fair hearing and did a very good job, and I congratulate him for it.
Councilor Hurley.
I would just indicate that I agree with the comments of my fellow counselors to my left. And in addition to that, we are not only responsible for vetting candidates as to their work ethic or their intelligence, but most importantly of all, their demeanor, how they are perceived by lawyers, fellow judges, and the public. And from the very beginning, when I was receiving phone calls and support from Judge Deangelo, one of the comments that I received was, yeah, he's obnoxious, but he's really smart. All right? And that's from someone who was supporting him. That raised red flags with me because we don't want people in the higher courts or in any court, as far as I'm concerned, where there is a judicial demeanor issue. And I think that the council acted appropriately, and Judge Deangelo admitted as much in terms of his handling of putting a lawyer in jail and finding him in contempt, realizing the mistake he made and correcting it. But you can't correct the fact that somebody was taken out of that courtroom, physically restrained and put in the lockup. So I think that this council did a good job of vetting. And I think that Councilor Jubenville knew that there were going to be serious problems. And you don't want family members to witness that, nor do you want judges here who are here at the request of Judge Deangelo, because it's a kangaroo court in that case. So I think that Councilor Deviani may have been mistaken in some of the reasoning of some of the counselors, and she can vote her way, and the rest of us are going to vote our way. Thank you.
Councilor Jubenville.
Thank you. Well, if criticism was gold, the counselor to my right would be worth a lot of money. It's what she seems to do best in this chamber. But Judge Deangelo and I had a lot of discussions before he came here. And he did want to bring in a bunch of judges, I thought for the wrong reason. And I told him that, and he agreed not to do it. Then I heard that he was thinking about it again, and I called him again. We had another talk about it. And the reason he was bringing them in would have made his hearing a lot worse than it was. No counselor made him cry. He choked up when he was talking about his father coming from Italy and his family. No one had even asked him a question yet. He did handle the questions, I thought, very well about the elephant in the room, which was locking up a lawyer. In 44 years, I've heard that done twice before. That's how rare it is for a judge to do that. And the other 2 judges that had done that in the past were forced to retire. To put handcuffs on a lawyer and have him put into a jail cell for refusing to go forward with a client that was, with all accounts, going to report him to the Board of Bar Overseers was not right. And it was a mistake, and it'll be a mistake forever for him. And he will always be remembered for doing that. You'll live with that the rest of your judicial career. None of us have had handcuffs put on us and put into a cell, but for some people, it's an extraordinary, depressing event that you don't recover from. So yes, he was asked a lot of questions about that. And I had a lot of serious concerns voiced to me by a lot of judges in the system about his demeanor and about being the smartest guy in the room. And a lot of them were said criticizing him, even though he was a very smart individual, and I give him that, and he's a very great writer. So I really had my concerns about it, about what I was going to do. But he handled the questions about the incident fairly well. And at the end, I asked him to apologize by name in this council publicly to that lawyer. He did that. So as one who has made a lot of mistakes in his life, apologizing for it in a chamber like this was a hard thing for him to do. And I appreciated that he did that. And I will be voting for him to be moved on to the appeals court.
Councilor Hurley.
One other thing, when we had the hearing, some of the counselors had the benefit of speaking with the attorney that was held in contempt. I requested of Judge Deangelo that he have that attorney call me. Judge Deangelo said, no problem, I will. And as of today, I did not hear from that attorney, which tells me that there may have been a little bit of coercion on the part of the judge or his supporters with that attorney. So I'm going to be voting no.
I just want to comment on
Councilor Kennedy.
the attorney was speaking of. I spoke to him a few times. He called me, I didn't call him. And he's certainly supportive of Judge Deangelo going to the appeals court, and he certainly has made peace with them. But I can assure you, based on my conversations, they're not friends at all. Thank you.
So demanding.
I really have said enough, but I just want to say that we should be treating everyone in fairness. Today, we had someone, mother, father, everyone, proud day. Outside of getting married and having your children, it's a proud day. We sat here and cried alone, and judges called me who were going to come. Judge Green was over the moon to have him. He told me a week before he was going to come. We have no right to say no one can come in here, but the nominees, family, his mother, and everything, that's what I'm saying. We have to treat people fairly. There was not one question about his qualifications, not one question about his experience, not one question about his mentoring lawyers who have come before him or what he does off the bench in the programs that he has been involved in. Not one one positive thing was said. Only questions about this case. And it had gone on over 2.5 years, and he said, it's enough. And he took that from that lawyer's record. He said, if he had to do over again, but it was a very egregious situation. This woman was going on and on for 2.5 years in her neighborhood with signs and everything, with dirty words, expletives, and they had children seeing it. So after all this time, Judge Deangelo said, enough's enough, go to trial. And that's how it happened. You know, we put someone in the appeals court that it was egregious to put him on the, what he did with the Halloween party. I'm just saying, this man, I'm talking about the conduct of the council. We should demand the same things that we expect from a judge. We expect a judge to have everyone that appears before them have fairness and be treated the same. This is the first hearing in my 22 years. No counselors asked him any questions. Didn't ask him about his experience. What did you do this? Or even question the justice who came, Justice Dolly. And even didn't question the woman who came, who was the assistant clerk magistrate, only drummed up the same thing, which he really had no experience. That's not what we're doing. It's not an inquisition. And I'm just saying that we have to have some civility. We had someone today, that the same counselor had presided, parents, isn't that wonderful? When I walked in here, no one said, I met with Judge Deangelo. I voted for him 16 years ago. He's a fine person, okay? Now, I was told by a counselor, I hate him and everybody hates him, okay? That was a month ago. I'm not going to go that route. I do my homework. I met with him 3 hours. I met with him 16 years ago. But he told me, I said, tell me, how's the hearing gonna go? He said, I can't bring anybody. I'm gonna be alone. That's the point here. That's the point here. You can make all kinds of excuses and you can throw things at me. You can call me and say I should resign. I'm a disgrace because of the public access. But I'll tell you, all I want is the public's right to know. I respect my counselors, but it isn't coming back. And all I'm saying is, let's have open hearings. Let that nominee bring his parents. God, how wonderful to have a parent alive. That's all. So I don't want to hear all the excuses. I know. And you know, he excused that attorney. Whatever you do legally, it's not on his record. They made friends through the years. It's sad that it happened, but it did.
Councilor Ferreira.
Thank you.
Be the last word, and then we'll move to the vote.
Thank you, Governor. Just for the record, point of correction. Once again, Councilor Devaney has said some things that are not true. She said several times that no one talked to him about his qualifications. I, for one, and other councils in this room, did exactly that. I mentioned how he had tried murder cases. I mentioned how he had taught at various institutions throughout the years for like 12 or 13 years at law schools. We talked about that. I asked him an open question about, you know, you had a hard day. It was reported in Lawyers Weekly in the State House Service. Tell us about the good things you've done for the last 16 years on the bench. And he has done a lot of good things. So to say that he wasn't asked and we didn't touch on his qualifications is just not true. I just wanted that clear for the record. Thank you.
Okay, then we have a motion and a second. We may commence the roll call.
Councilor Paulo,
Yes.
Councilor Curley,
No.
Yes.
Jubilo.
Yes.
Councilor Devaney.
Yes.
Councilor Iannello.
Yes.
Councilor Duff.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I recognize Councilor Iannello for a motion to record advice and consent for the appointment of Nan M. Sauer to the position of Associate Justice of the Probate and Family Court.
I make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second? Yes, Councilor.
One point of personal privilege. While we were shut down, the public access, there were 2 votes. I asked the council if they would only have 1 hearing a week, and I was closed out 7-1. I would hope these people would think about it, because you know why? We need people, we need counselors at these hearings. And when you get to the 3rd, it's kind of sparse. And this is not, and then we have another rule that was made, 15-minute rule. This is not get this out, get this hearing off as fast as we can. Let's get this out. That's not the purpose. I want to hear everything I can from that nominee so that the public will know experience, qualifications. 15 minutes was stopped. When Councilor DiPaolo was chairing, I was cut off in mid-sentence. The nominee was going to answer. So I'm just saying it's ridiculous to do this. When we just had the top judge voted, she talked more than 15 minutes. Why shouldn't a nominee talk about it? I hope that you'll reconsider that vote, that 15-minute rule. And the other, to have 3. We all should be sitting here for 3, if you want to have 3, and we're not. And I'm just saying, 1, let's give that nominee respect and ask the questions that have to be asked. We're not here to get out as fast as we can. I'm not anyway. And I have sat at every meeting, every hearing in my chair from beginning and when only. My husband died 22 years ago in January, and you know that. So I really think it's important. Let's show the respect to the nominees. 15-minute rule. I hope you reconsider it. It doesn't make sense. I've said enough. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Yes, Counselor Hurley.
It's a matter of personal observation. This new 15-minute rule also gives us another 5 minutes or more in rebuttal at the end of everybody asking questions. And what this rule does is keep 1 or 2 people from hogging the hearing. There's been many times, by the time it's gotten to me, when I'm the last one, I don't have any questions because they've all been asked. But it gives people an opportunity to raise issues perhaps in a different way. And also, I think it's more judicious in terms of allowing everybody to have an opportunity to question the nominee. Secondly, as far as having more than one hearing, I would indicate that I have scheduled an Associate Justice of the District Court nominee for 11:30 and a District Court Clerk nominee for 10:30 on May 4th for 2 reasons. First of all, they've both asked Judge Gross to testify, and he needs to do it on WebEx. So it's just economy of scale in terms of that. He does the drug court on Wednesdays. And secondly, don't anticipate there's going to be any serious number of questions because both of them are excellent nominees. If there's a contentious hearing, then that can be a different story. But I think that this has more or less streamlined things, and I feel I have more of an opportunity to get my turn to ask questions and maybe do it a little differently. That might shed some new light on things. Thank you.
Let's return to the motion and the second of the appointment of Nan M. Sauer.
Second.
It's motion and a second. We may begin the roll call.
Counselor Hurley.
Yes.
Counselor Burr.
Yes.
Jubal.
Yes.
Counselor Deaney. Allen.
Yes.
Yes.
Kennedy.
Yes.
Thank you. I recognize Counsel Ferreira for a motion to record advice and consent for the appointment of Teresa F. Lamarre to the position of Circuit Justice of the District Court.
Governor, it gives me pleasure to make that motion.
Second.
There is a motion and a second.
Governor?
Counsel Ferreira.
I would just like to congratulate yourself and the governor, the JNC, and everyone else involved in the selection of Therese Lamarre. I've known her since she came to my class about 6 years ago on how to become a judge. And it was hosted by Lon Pavich and Sharon Casey and myself and some people from the JNC. And it worked because I'm a firm believer that we want good local attorneys to be good local judges. And here we are 6 years later. She has an outstanding resume. She's from Council Juvenile's district, hometown of Holyoke. She's practiced out in Springfield. She's practiced in 3 different DA's offices. She's been instrumental in the New Bedford school system, helping with absenteeism. She's had private practice, and she has a 5-star rating for temperament and demeanor from every single person I've talked to. I can't tell you how many judges, lawyers, and clerks have called me to support this nomination. So thank you very much.
He said, I'm not going to add a thing. She's great. I'm sorry that everyone didn't see her because she was excellent. And out of the 3 hearings, she and Mr. Pappas had their family and friends. What a blessing.
Okay.
Judge Deangelo didn't.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. We may begin the roll call.
Counselor Burr.
Yes.
Counselor Jubal.
Yes.
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 Thank you. I recognize Councilor Duff for a motion to record advice and consent of the appointment of Raquel D. Ruano to the position of Associate Justice of the District Court.
Thank you very much, Governor. Excellent appointment. I'm going to put her name into nomination.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We may begin the roll call.
Yes.
Counselor Deaney.
Yes.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Jubal.
Yes.
Counselor
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This is our final motion today. I recognize Councilor Jubenville for a motion to record advice and consent for the appointment of John B. Pappas to the position of Associate Justice of the Superior Court.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. we may begin the roll call.
Counselor Devaney?
Yes.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy?
With pleasure, yes.
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 All right, that was, yes.
I want to thank you and the governor and your staff, Lauren Green and her staff, all the counselors, and Valerie and Sonia and Aaron for working behind the scenes to put this WebEx back on. It took a while, but there were a lot of pieces that had to be put together and it finally happened. And I want to thank everybody involved in it, all the counselors sitting here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Governor, just for the record,
Yes, Counselor Herbert.
Barbara Burton's hearing is at 10:30 on May 4th, and Brandon Freeman's hearing is at 11:30 on May 4th. And I believe that they will both be handled expeditiously and in a timely fashion. And the new nominees?
There are no new nominees, but we had a very full agenda today. So I thank you all for the incredible
Thank you,
work
Governor.
you put into the nominations and confirmations. Have a
Thank
great
you,
day.
Governor.